Welcome to Lexivia English. Ready to take your English to the next level? Here we learn through stories, slow, clear, and fun. So sit back, listen carefully, and enjoy the journey.
Chapter 1 The Great Announcement. One Monday morning in September, something extraordinary happened. Every parent, teacher, and student around the world received the same message on their phones. All schools are permanently closed. Traditional education as we know it has ended. It wasn't a temporary closure due to a pandemic or natural disaster. It was a complete transformation of how children would learn. The announcement came from a global education council that had been meeting in secret for months. They had decided that the old system of sitting in classrooms for 6 to 8 hours a day was no longer working for modern children. Technology had advanced so much that learning could happen anywhere, anytime. The world was about to discover what education could look like without school buildings. At first, there was panic. Parents looked at their children eating breakfast and wondered, what will they do all day? How will they learn? Who will take care of them while we work? Children had mixed feelings. Some jumped with joy at the thought of no more homework or early morning alarms. Others felt worried about not seeing their friends every day. Teachers around the world sat in empty classrooms, unsure of their future. But within weeks, something amazing began to happen. Families started to explore new ways of learning together. Chapter 2 Learning Everywhere. Without the structure of traditional school, children began learning in ways no one had imagined. A 10-year-old girl in Tokyo became fascinated with her grandmother's cooking and spent her mornings learning mathematics by measuring ingredients and calculating cooking times. Her afternoons were spent learning about different countries by researching the origins of recipes. In Kenya, a group of children started meeting at the local library every day. They formed their own learning community, teaching each other different subjects. The older children helped the younger ones with reading, while the younger children shared their knowledge of technology with the older ones. The librarian became their guide, helping them find resources and books for their projects. parents discovered they could be teachers too. A father who worked as a mechanic taught his son about physics by showing him how car engines worked. A mother who was a nurse taught her daughter about biology by growing plants and observing how they responded to different conditions. Learning became a family activity, bringing parents and children closer together. Museums, parks, and community centers became the new classrooms. Children could spend a whole day at a science museum, not just a quick school trip. They had time to really explore, ask questions, and experiment. Nature became their playground and laboratory. They learned about weather by observing clouds, about mathematics by measuring trees, and about history by visiting local monuments. Chapter 3: The Digital Revolution. Technology companies quickly created new platforms for children to learn online. But these weren't like the boring video calls from emergency remote learning during pandemics. These were immersive, interactive experiences. Children could take virtual reality trips to ancient Rome, swim with dolphins in the ocean, or explore the inside of a human cell. A 12-year-old boy in Brazil became an expert in astronomy by using online telescopes to observe real stars and planets. He joined online communities with other young astronomers from around the world. They shared their discoveries and learned from professional scientists who volunteered their time to answer questions. Social media platforms designed especially for young learners appeared. Children shared their daily learning adventures, from building tree houses and learning about engineering to starting small businesses and learning about economics. They inspired each other to try new things and pursue their interests. However, parents quickly realized that unlimited screen time was creating new problems. Children were spending 12 hours a day on devices. Their eyes were getting tired, and they were becoming less active. families had to learn to balance digital learning with physical activities and real-world experiences. Chapter 4. New challenges emerge. After 6 months without traditional schools, serious problems began to appear. Not all families could provide good learning environments at home. Children from wealthy families had access to private tutors, educational trips, and the latest technology. Meanwhile, children from poorer families struggled without proper internet connections or quiet spaces to study. Working parents faced enormous stress. Many had to quit their jobs to stay home with their children, causing financial difficulties. Others tried to work while supervising their children's learning, leading to exhaustion and frustration. Single parents found it nearly impossible to manage everything alone. Some children thrived in this new freedom, becoming creative and independent learners. But others felt lost without structure and clear expectations. They missed having teachers to guide them and friends to study with every day. Many children, especially teenagers, became lonely and depressed without the social interaction that schools provided. Learning gaps began to widen. Children who were naturally curious and self-motivated learned faster than ever before. But children who needed more support and encouragement fell behind. Without standardized testing, it became difficult to know which children were struggling and needed help. Chapter 5. Communities. Step in. Recognizing these problems, communities around the world began to organize. Neighborhood learning pods formed, where small groups of children would gather in homes or community spaces with rotating parent supervision. Retired teachers volunteered to help these groups, creating mini schools in living rooms and community centers. Local businesses started offering apprenticeships and internships to children. A bakery might teach young people about chemistry through bread making, while a veterinary clinic could teach biology through animal care. Children learned practical skills while gaining real work experience. Sports clubs, art studios, and music schools expanded their programs to fill the gap left by school activities. Children could spend mornings learning core subjects in their learning pods and afternoons pursuing their passions in specialized programs. Some communities created learning festivals, regular events where children could showcase their projects, learn from guest speakers, and participate in group activities. These events brought families together and created a sense of community that many had lost when schools closed. Religious and cultural organizations also played important roles, teaching children about their heritage and values while providing safe spaces for learning and socializing. Chapter 6: The New Normal. 2 years after schools closed forever, society had adapted in ways no one could have predicted. Children were learning, but differently than before. Many had developed deep expertise in subjects they were passionate about. A 13-year-old had started a successful online business selling handmade jewelry. A 9-year-old could speak 3 languages fluently after connecting with pen pals around the world. Families had learned to work together as learning teams. Parents discovered talents they never knew they had as teachers and mentors. Many found that they enjoyed spending more time with their children and understanding how they learned best. However, inequality in education had grown. Children with supportive families and resources were thriving, while others were falling behind. Society was working to create more support systems, but progress was slow. The most successful learners were those who had learned to be self-directed and curious. They could identify what they wanted to learn, find resources, and stick with difficult challenges. These skills were becoming more valuable than memorizing facts for tests. Chapter 7: Looking Forward. As the world continued to adapt to education without traditional schools, new innovations kept emerging. Learning mentors, trained adults who weren't traditional teachers, began working with small groups of children, focusing on developing critical thinking and problem-solving skills rather than memorizing curriculum. International exchange programs flourished as families realized their children could learn anywhere. A family might spend 3 months living in Costa Rica, learning Spanish and studying rainforest ecology, then move to Japan to study technology and culture. Children were becoming more globally minded and culturally aware. Without being confined to classrooms with peers from their immediate neighborhood, they were forming friendships with children from different countries, backgrounds, and experiences. The question remained, was this new world better than the old system of traditional schools? The answer seemed to depend on each individual child and family. Some thrived in the freedom and flexibility, while others missed the structure and community that schools had provided. What everyone agreed on was that education had been transformed forever. The idea of learning only happening in a school building from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. now seemed as outdated as using typewriters instead of computers. Children were learning that education was not something that happened to them, but something they could control and shape for themselves. The story of what would happen next was still being written by every family, every child, and every community adapting to this new world of limitless learning possibilities.